The distant humming of the Horizon's engines provided a soothing backdrop as Elise Lawson adjusted her audio filters. The ship's communications specialist had intercepted something unusual patterns. Too regular to be cosmic noise, but too chaotic for standard transmissions. Captain Renner. "I think you should hear this," Elise called, her dark eyes fixed on the oscillating waveforms. The signal pulsed with an almost biological rhythm. Captain Jenna Renner leaned over Elise's console, her weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of monitors. "Classification: unknown, but it has markers consistent with distress protocols across several civilizations," Elise replied, tucking a strand of curly hair behind her ear. "It's coming from the third planet in the Vetra system. Uncharted territory." 2 days later, the Horizon entered orbit around a verdant world of sprawling forests and shallow seas. The landing party included Elise, Security Officer Tomas Diaz, exobiologist Dr. Freya O'Coffer, and Renner herself. They found the source of the signal in a cave complex nestled within a mountain range. Inside, illuminated by bioluminescent fungi, was a humanoid figure with iridescent skin that shifted colors like the surface of a soap bubble. "Hello!" Elise stepped forward, universal translator ready. "We received your signal. Are you in need of assistance?" The being's skin flashed rapidly through patterns of blue and gold. It gestured frantically, but produced no sound. Dr. Okafor scanned the alien with her medical tricorder. "Fascinating. According to database comparisons, this appears to be a Vesperian. They're a telepathic species from the neighboring sector. If they're telepathic, why can't they communicate with us?" Tomas asked, maintaining a respectful distance. "The readings show unusual neural activity," Freya replied. "There's damage to specific brain structures unique to their species. Through careful gestures and rudimentary sketches, they learned the Vesperians. Name was Novan. They had been exiled from their community due to their inability to participate in the telepathic collective that formed the foundation of Vesperian society. It would be like being born without vocal cords in a human community with no concept of written language," Elise explained during the debriefing aboard the Horizon. "Novan is completely isolated. And the distress signal?" Renner inquired. "They've adapted our abandoned research outpost technology. Quite ingeniously, actually." Renner's expression softened. "Recommendations?" Elise straightened her shoulders. "With your permission, I'd like to develop a communication system for Novan. My background in xenolinguistics and neural mapping could help bridge this gap. The Vesperians are an advanced civilization. This could strengthen diplomatic ties," Tomas noted strategically. "Approved," Renner decided. "But we're in disputed territory. The Krell Empire has been expanding in this sector. We need to work quickly." That night, Elise reviewed everything in the database about Vesperian neural physiology. As the ship's night cycle simulated darkness, she found herself thinking about Novan's eyes, how they shimmered with intelligence and loneliness she recognized all too well. "I'll help you find your voice," she whispered to the star-filled viewport. "Whatever it takes." Silent conversations, the makeshift laboratory hummed with activity as Elise calibrated the neural interface. Across the table, Novan watched with cautious optimism, their skin rippling in patterns that Elise had begun to recognize as curiosity. "This prototype should help us establish basic communication," she explained. Though she knew Novan couldn't understand her words, the gesture of speaking aloud felt important, somehow a bridge. Between their different ways of experiencing the world, Dr. O'Coffer entered with new scans. "The damage to Novan's telepathic center appears congenital, not traumatic. They were born this way. No wonder they were isolated," Elise murmured. "Their entire society functions through shared consciousness." When Elise placed the neural band around Novan's temple, their skin flashed vibrant purple excitement, or perhaps hope. The interface translated simple concepts into visual symbols on a screen. Within hours, they established a rudimentary vocabulary. "Home," Novan signaled, pointing to the stars. "You want to go home?" Elise asked. "No home. Exile. Different, wrong." Elise's heart ached. "You're not wrong. Just different." Over the following weeks, Their communication system grew more sophisticated. Novan proved remarkably intelligent, quickly grasping complex concepts and helping refine the translation algorithms. "Your progress is impressive," Captain Renner commented during her weekly inspection. "But we've received concerning transmissions. Krell scout ships have been detected near the Vesperian border." Elise nodded gravely. "Novan has been trying to tell us something about the Krell. They seem agitated whenever we mention them." That evening, Elise worked late in the lab. The ship's engineer, Julian Wright, joined her, bringing fresh coffee and his expertise in quantum circuitry. "If we reconfigure the phase modulators," Julian suggested, his hands moving with practiced precision, "we might be able to amplify the neural signals enough to simulate telepathic transmission. That could allow Novan to communicate with other Vesperians," Elise realized, excitement building. "Julian, you're brilliant." He smiled sheepishly. "Just doing my job. Besides, I've seen how important this is to you." Their fingers brushed as they reached for the same tool, lingering perhaps a moment longer than necessary. Julian had been a steady presence in her life aboard the Horizon, but lately, Elise found her thoughts increasingly occupied by Novan, their resilience, their unique perspective. When Julian left, Novan's skin shifted to a questioning indigo pattern. "Friend Julian." "Like Elise?" Elise smiled. "Yes, Julian is my friend." "Elise like Novan?" The question caught her off guard. Yes, I like you too, Novan." "Different like?" "Different color." Novan's skin rippled in a pattern she hadn't seen before, something complex and beautiful. That night in her quarters, Elise recorded in her personal log, "The lines between professional interest and personal connection are blurring. Novan sees the world in ways I never could. I'm not sure what I'm feeling, but it's something new, like discovering a color I never knew existed." Outside her viewport, the stars seemed to pulse with possibility as the horizon drifted through the darkness, carrying them all toward an uncertain future. "Hold still," Elise murmured, as she adjusted the modified neural interface around Novan's temples. The device, sleeker and more refined than their prototype, gleamed against Novan's iridescent skin. "This should amplify your neural patterns and convert them into telepathic wavelengths your species can understand." Julian monitored the calibration readings. Power levels stable. Neural synchronization at 87% and climbing. The 3 weeks of intensive work had drawn them closer. Julian's engineering brilliance complemented Elise's linguistic expertise, while Novan provided crucial insights about Vesperian telepathic communication. "Ready?" Elise asked, her heart racing with anticipation. Novan's skin pulsed with concentric rings of azure and gold, their signal for affirmative. Elise activated the device. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Novan's body tensed, eyes widening as the neural interface hummed to life. Their skin erupted in cascades of color-vivid, joyful patterns Elise had never seen before. "It's working," Julian whispered, watching the brainwave patterns harmonize on his monitor. Suddenly, Elise felt a whisper of sensation at the edge of her consciousness, not quite a voice, more like an impression of meaning, gratitude, connection, joy. "I can feel you," she gasped, reaching for Novan's hand instinctively. "Just a little, but I can feel your thoughts." The device wasn't designed for human reception, but her prolonged exposure to Novan's neural patterns had created an unexpected sensitivity. For the first time, "I exist to others," came Novan's ethereal communication. A symphony of emotion and concept rather than words. The ship's alarm shattered the moment. "All senior officers to the bridge," Captain Renner's voice commanded over the intercom. On the bridge, tactical displays showed 3 Krell warships approaching from the sector boundary. "They're demanding we surrender the Vesperian," Commander Park reported grimly. "They claim all non-communicative Vesperians are their property under some treaty we've never heard of." "That's absurd," Elise protested. "Novan is a person, not property. The Krell have been harvesting isolated Vesperians for decades," Novan explained through the interface, Julian translating for the crew. Their neural anatomy contains elements that Krell use for their biosynthetic technology. My people abandoned us, making us easy targets. That's why you were hiding, Elise realized, and why you needed to communicate. Captain Renner's expression hardened. We don't surrender people to harvesting operations. Battle stations. The horizon shuddered under the first volley from the Krell vessels. Being an exploration ship, they were outgunned and outmaneuvered. We need to reach Vesperian space, Elise urged. With the interface, Novan can testify about the Krell violations. Engineering reports damage to the quantum drive, Park announced. We can't outrun them. Julian exchanged a look with Elise. The neural interface generates a specific frequency. If we modify the deflector array to amplify it, we could create a telepathic distress call that every Vesperian within 3 light-years would hear. Elise finished his thought as Julian raced to engineering. Elise and Novan worked to reconfigure the interface. Their hands worked in tandem, moving with unconscious synchronicity. Your mind shines, Novan communicated, their colors shifting to deep, intimate purples. Even without telepathy, you understand. We understand each other, Elise replied softly. That's rare enough between members of the same species. The modified signal pulsed outward just as the Krell ships moved into boarding position. For long, tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, suddenly, the sensors detected multiple vessels dropping out of faster-than-light travel Vesperian defenders. Responding to Novan's call, for the first time in their life, Novan's voice had been heard. Echoes of home the Vesperian diplomatic vessels, serene thought, dwarfed the horizon. Its crystalline hull refracting starlight in hypnotic patterns. Inside its cavernous meeting chamber, Elise watched Novan communicate directly with High Counselor Theron through the neural interface. The past week had been a whirlwind of diplomatic exchanges and technological sharing. The Vesperians, horrified by the Krell's systematic exploitation of their disconnected citizens, had mobilized their considerable resources. The Council extends its profound gratitude, the Vesperian translator conveyed. We had no knowledge of our exiled kindred's fate. Our collective consciousness sometimes blinds us to those outside it. Captain Renner inclined her head respectfully. We hope this marks the beginning of a productive alliance, as the official meeting concluded. Elise found herself lingering behind with Novan. Their skin shimmered with subtle, private patterns she'd come to recognize as affection. My people wish me to stay, Novan communicated directly to her mind. The neural interface had grown more sophisticated, allowing for clearer transmission. To help locate others like me, Elise's heart constricted. That's wonderful. You'll be able to reconnect with your culture. But I am not the same person who was exiled. I have been changed by knowing you. Their fingers intertwined, 5 human digits against 7 iridescent ones. The gesture conveyed more than words could express. Later, in her quarters aboard the Horizon, Elise sorted through research notes while Julian repaired a malfunctioning console. The Vesperians want to establish a permanent research exchange, she mentioned, trying to sound casual. They've asked me to consider joining as the human liaison. Julian paused, setting down his tools. Are you considering it? I don't know. My work here is important, but what they're offering the chance to study telepathic linguistics firsthand, ... And Novan will be there, Julian added gently. Elise glanced up, suddenly self-conscious. Is it that obvious? Only to someone who's been watching you light up every time you're in the same room. His smile was kind. It's not exactly standard protocol to fall for an alien telepath. But then again, when have you ever followed standard protocol? She laughed, grateful for his understanding. I don't even know if it's possible. We're literally different species. If anyone could bridge that gap, it's you two. You've already done the impossible once. Their conversation was interrupted by a ship-wide alert. The Krell had launched a surprise offensive against 3 Vesperian outposts. On the bridge, tactical displays showed the unfolding conflict. They're targeting research facilities, Commander Park noted. Specifically, one studying telepathic technology. Novan arrived, their normally vibrant colors muted with distress. The Krell fear what will happen if all Vesperians can communicate with those like me. Our combined knowledge threatens their exploitation. are being hailed by the Vesperian flagship. The communications officer announced. High Counselor Theron appeared on screen. The Krell possess countermeasures against our telepathic coordination. We request Dr. Lawson's assistance in modifying our systems. For 3 days, Elise worked alongside Vesperian scientists, adapting the neural interface technology to overcome Krell jamming frequencies. Novin rarely left her side, their unique perspective bridging the gaps between human and Vesperian approaches. During a rare moment of quiet, they stood together in the observation dome, watching distant flashes of the conflict. If we succeed, my place in Vesperian society will be secured, Novin communicated, but my heart has found its home elsewhere. Elise turned to them, understanding perfectly. Sometimes finding your voice means discovering who you want to speak with most. Their foreheads touched in a gesture that transcended species and unspoken promise amidst the stars. 1 year later, Elise stood on the balcony of the Interspecies Communication Center, watching twin moons rise over the Vesperian capital. The sprawling complex represented everything she and Novin had worked for, a place where disconnected Vesperians could find their voices and where humans could learn the subtle art of telepathic linguistics. The ambassador has arrived, announced Tara Singh, Elise's assistant and former Horizon crew member. Elise smoothed her formal attire, a blend of human and Vesperian design. Much like the life she'd built here, the past year had brought challenges and triumphs in equal measure. The defeat of the Krell exploitation operation, the Federation-Vesperian alliance, and her own journey adapting to life on an alien world. Ambassador Julian Wright entered with his usual easy smile. Dr. Lawson, still hard at work saving the galaxy? Just one neural pathway at a time, she replied, embracing her old friend. How was the journey from Earth? Long, but worthwhile. The Federation Council is impressed with your results. 17 previously isolated Vesperians, now fully integrated into society. And human Vesperian diplomatic fluency increased by 300%. Their conversation was interrupted by a familiar ripple of thought. Novin approaching. Over the months, their connection had deepened to the point where Elise could sense Novan's presence before seeing them. Novan entered, their skin glowing with the pearl-violet hue that Elise now recognized as their true emotional signature, a pattern they displayed only in private moments. The celebration preparations are complete. Novin communicated, the thought-carrying undercurrents of affection that colored Elise's consciousness like watercolors. Blooming on paper, the center's anniversary celebration would showcase the new generation of neural interfaces, devices that allowed humans limited access to the telepathic realm and gave voice to those Vesperians born without the ability to connect. Later that evening, as dignitaries mingled in the Great Hall, Elise and Novin slipped away to their private chambers. The room represented their unique partnership, human furnishings alongside Vesperian biomorphic structures, books beside thought crystals. Sometimes I still can't believe we made this work, Elise said. Removing the formal diplomatic collar from her neck, Novan's fingers traced the curve of her shoulder, sending shivers of telepathic connection between them. Two beings from different worlds, finding harmony in the spaces between stars. Their relationship had required creativity and patience, different biologies, different perceptions of intimacy. They'd discovered that telepathic connection could be as profound as physical touch. That understanding could be as powerful as passion. Novin's skin shifted to patterns of deep crimson and gold desire in their visual language. The neural implant Elise had accepted 6 months ago allowed her to share not just thoughts but sensations with Novin, creating a form of intimacy unique in the galaxy. I have something to show you, Novin communicated, leading Elise to the meditation alcove, where a small crystal orb pulsed with bioluminescence. What is it? Elise asked, though she could already feel the answer forming in her mind. A symphony seed. Among my people, when two souls wish to create something lasting together, they combine their neural patterns. Elise understood the significance immediately. This was the Vesperian equivalent of a profound commitment, a merging of futures. "It's beautiful," she whispered, reaching out to touch the crystal. As her fingers made contact, her consciousness expanded, intertwining with Novan's in a tapestry of shared memories and hopes. That night, as they lay together in the strange, beautiful intersection of their two worlds, Elise reflected on the journey that had brought them here. From a distress signal in deep space to a love that transcended biological boundaries. They had created something unprecedented, a bridge between different forms of consciousness. "What are you thinking?" Novan asked, their thoughts gentle against her mind. Elise smiled in the darkness. "That some voices aren't meant to be heard with ears, and that finding the right frequency can change everything." Outside their window, the stars of two civilizations' territories shimmered together, inseparable in the vast canvas of space.